The following is a local resident producers program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl, Hentz, and Dan Rylance here, and we're very pleased to welcome to the show Kathleen Witman. Kathleen is one of the organizers of the Winter Farmers Market. This is something new that we've not had before in Oshkosh, and so we're going to find out what it's all about, why it's happening now, and not now calendar-wise, but why it's never happened before, and what you can expect if you go. So thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me.
So,
I'm excited to be here.
Well, the first thing is, of course, this is the first time that a farmer's market in the winter is being done. We
as far as I know, in Oshkosh, yes.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, and I've been here pretty much all my life. So.
Well, and interestingly, as I'm talking to people who haven't been to it, to the winter market, have said, "Oh, we're so glad it's, we're going, and how long has it been?" I'm like, "No, this is the first time." Really? Like, what took you so long?
Yeah. So what did prompt this?
Well, mostly the success of the market moving to Main Street. It used to be on Church, and then it moved to Main 2 years ago, and just hordes of people going through, and people wishing to get some of that back again in winter, missing products, missing fresh produce, missing crafts and such. And Dennis and Kathleen Leatherman, who are the managers of the summer, pretty much give up their whole summer for the summer market. And Michelle Schultzen, who's the other co-manager, and I thought we could do this. Actually, Michelle had started talking about it with Dennis first. And around this, a few weeks later, I'm like, we should do a market, a winter market. And yeah, we were just talking about that. So
you and your co-manager then, who was going to be here tonight but couldn't. So we're sorry about that. But we're very glad you're here.
Thank you.
And so the two of you got involved because you're vendors in the summer farmers market?
Michelle is, she owns Glacier Ridge Animal Farm on, you probably see it off of Highway 41.
I do. They've got the bison,
the elk, everything.
I think don't they supply like animals for petting zoos and
yes,
stuff
when we
like
have
that?
our kids' day, they're there with the animals, and there'll also be the spectacular coming up. The animals will be there. But yep, and Michelle also, you'll see her stand at the market has the buffalo hide hanging out over it. So so for her, she's just. It helps. She'll be vending. She'll have a booth there, and she just loves that community connection, and has that vision. She's very good at. We can do this, or here's some ideas. She's a very good idea person. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I'm more of the. Let's get it organized, keep it going, and figure out how to get it done. Between the two of us, it's a good match.
Sure. Well, and we'll sum this up again when the segment ends, but let's remind people right now when it starts,
sure.
when it is, and where it is, because it's not in the same place.
It's not on Main Street.
The summer markets.
It's November through April. The first date is November 3rd, opening day. It's the first, third, and fifth Saturdays of the month. We don't say every other Saturday because there are 2 months, December and March, where there are five Saturdays. Lucky us. So there'll be a couple of markets back to back. And it will run from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and it is at City Center near the Beckett's entrance. You'll see what they call the Beckett's Atrium. If you've ever been in there, it's right off of Jackson, near the along the Fox River, the Oregon. Actually, it's at Oregon Street Bridge. Yet it's on on Jackson. Interesting. I wonder what the cutoff is.
The river actually.
It's the river. Okay.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
I think visual with the bridge, and then City Center, but the address is to Jackson. And so folks will enter by the Beckett's entrance, and down the hall will be right there to greet them, and then they'll go down the hall, and there'll be vendors around the atrium, not inside the center, but around it. And so it's parking's right there. It'll be very simple to get to, and it'll be different than the summer in that you're not walking down the middle of the street, but we'll have a lot of the same types of vendors, craft vendors. A lot of them, actually, it's been very easy to get some of our vendors because we have 200 of them to pull from. So.
Are they drawing straws to see who comes to this winter Saturday
Not yet,
market?
but maybe next year. We'll see how it goes. It's exciting.
A bureaucratic question.
Sure.
You have to have an events process. Are you tied to the summer Saturdays market, or do you have to apply for another one?
It's a separate market, so you do have to apply.
Okay.
Separate.
Did you look at my sheet?
Was that your question?
It was one of my questions. Yeah.
This happens all the time. She has such good questions that when I I don't prepare, I grab them. No. So you have to apply for special events.
Correct.
All right. Have you done that?
Yes, we're
Okay.
Finalizing our vendors. We've had about 50 apply. We have about 35 spaces.
Okay.
Some vendors will have double spaces, so we anticipate between 25 and 30 vendors that will be.
You're not asking for a waiver. That's sort of an anti.
We don't need it. We don't
need
really.
it.
We don't
Okay.
have the same needs as the summer market
Okay.
does. There's no traffic, well, that we know of yet. But
Yeah, Okay.
we won't.
So you're
have
all
that.
set then.
Yes.
you know,
Yep. We didn't.
Big Brother isn't going to come down on you and say you can't
I
do
hope
this.
not. No. No.
Did anyone step forward like they did with the summer's market to pay the fee?
No, there's just no need, so we didn't ask. The UW Oshkosh Credit Union has been fabulous and sponsoring our music, which they do also for the summer, and they're a big supporter and joy to work with. Mm-hmm. So that's been helpful. We'll start as we're going along. Ken Osmond from Planet Perk donated some funds for help with signage, so it's more as we're going along, we're starting to ask, oh, we're going to need this or we're going to need that.
And speaking of signage,
you'll start seeing those around town.
this is it's very clear, very well done. Everything is right there, everything that you need to know.
And those were produced by Art City Signs on Main Street, and very helpful. Carla was extremely helpful with us. And it's interesting, I'll be putting some strategic signs around. We're still putting them out, but I've had them out over the course of a few weeks at the summer market with a free take one. So as I'm driving around, it's a surprise to me where they'll be. And it's kind of been fun. Oh, I didn't know they were a market support, so that's been
It's more
fun.
colorful than some of the political signs that are starting to come up all
Well,
over the
I'm
city.
hoping not to get lost in all that. I see these big ones, and
Yeah.
I just say that's temporary.
Yeah,
But we really debated on whether to do a lawn sign in winter. You know, last winter was so mild, and we kept going back and forth. 2 snowstorms, and those will be out. But we're going to see. We'll try it.
Yeah, and as long as you get them in the ground before the ground gets frozen, because once it gets frozen, they're
That's
very
it.
hard to get in.
I have learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and don't face the northwest wind.
And the wind.
Because the wind will take them
Well,
down.
you both know this well. I'll
Yeah.
sign consulting. I'll remember that.
Yeah. All right, now what are we going to? Let's say I'm going to go over there for the first time. What am I going to find as far as you mentioned crafts?
Mm-hmm.
What else are we going to have?
We'll have, when you come in, you'll see the market booth will be right at the entrance,
Okay.
and then we'll have some two community booths, which is what we also do. Those are booths that are no charge for nonprofits or fundraising groups, and those are for free. And we'll also have our EBT. We'll accept EBT, which is the I compare it to the WIC or for the low income,
Okay.
where they can they have cards, debit cards, when they get tokens, and they can purchase agricultural products at the market. So that'll be right there, and they'll walk through, and we'll have our band set up. We've got a band every week, and then they'll just walking around. It's almost like it'll be like a promenade around the atrium. We'll have several agricultural vendors, farmers. Nami Moon Farmer will be there. They're current popular vendor at the market now. They'll have turkey and chickens, fresh eggs, duck eggs, some honey. We'll have several familiar vendor. Olson Farms will be there. Fraser Farms there.
I suppose you're going to have live turkeys ready to go for Thanksgiving.
That would be nice. I'll talk to Chris, who owns the Nami Moon, and see what we can do. Maybe that I should check into first, but those are nice. Those are perfect because of the season. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas in there, so that's a perfect time. We'll also have a lot of canned vendors who have canned food. I had a woman call me last night at 9 o'clock. Can I still get in? Yes. Let's see what else. We'll have some cheese vendors. Bread, Great Harvest will be there from Nina. It's actually nice for them because so many people want them to open up a bread store in Oshkosh. We could probably support it, but they say that somebody else could do it, not them. They have all they can handle. So the market is a perfect way for them to have a presence in Oshkosh almost year-round. Several of the vendors.
I asked this too before the show started. No eating vendors will be in there.
We will not have prepared food. No egg rolls, sorry everyone, because Beckett's, I should say, should start with that, is offering that space to us at no cost, which is huge. That is huge for us.
Yeah.
And we've been working with Chris and Sarah Larson. They've been an excellent supporter for both the summer and now the winter markets. So they will be open for lunch. They'll have their bar open for coffee and mimosas, Bloody Marys and such from 9 o'clock on. And so we're hoping that people will think of it as a destination. Hey, let's go to the market and have lunch. You know, it's kind of a twofold.
How did you get into doing this?
Good question. I'm a surprise myself. I'm a foodie.
Okay.
I love food, and I used to go to the market when it was on Church Street. It was a Saturday morning destination. I live on the west side. I would ride my bike over, get my veggies and my egg roll, and then go across the street to the Morgan House for pie on the porch. I just loved it. And I happened to be talking to Dennis right towards the end of the 2 years ago, at the end of the season for when they were on Church Street, which was their last one. And I said, well, you need help or anything? It's such a great thing. And, well, funny you should say that. And so we got in touch, and we're moving to Main Street and helped that, and it was so successful.
So Dennis Leatherman and
Dennis got me
Carlene,
started.
they're kind of the godmother and the godfather of the winter Saturday market?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They're our excellent mentor. Even though they're separate, they promise that they'll come every week, which I know there'll be 2 people there every week or every market day. And they've been great. They're great to work with, great managers. Something's not working, boom, it's fixed, or corrected. Or I've never worked with anyone like that.
They've been on this program 2 or 3 times, and they just,
they're just
energy
great.
is just, organizational skills are just
fun,
there.
great ideas, great to work with, and you can imagine going from, say, 50 vendors, 50 spaces to 200 or 300. They're doing it very well, and each year's a learning experience, and only gets better.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they got me into it, and I really, the winter though came to me that I had gone to Appleton because I had never really been to a winter market, gone up there, and they have a fantastic winter market as well. I love the setting. I love that they combine both what's the commercial products in their, or stores in their building on College, and then add the vendors. And then went to the Madison market last winter, that's in Monona Terrace, and thought, we could do this, you know, they're pulling it off, we could do this. And that was when, around the same time, Michelle and Dennis had started talking about it.
Are you having any second thoughts or bad dreams as we move closer to the
Not yet.
Not yet.
Surprisingly, because that's, I'm
come.
like that. Thank you. No, it's been very, again, Dennis and Carlene have been super helpful, pushing us when we need to be pushed, or hey, you might try this, or they've just been terrific.
You know, they really, I mean, they live, eat, breathe, and sleep this year-round, even though it's a summer farmer's market. So now that is considerably larger than this one will be in the winter. But they really do have to put a lot of time into it.
And
How
it's
much
all
time?
volunteer.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is, I don't think a lot of people know that. It's a full-time job and a half, and it's all volunteer.
Right.
They do it well.
So how much time have you needed to put into this to get this one up and running? I would think probably a little bit more than you may have to in the future, because it is a brand new thing. You've got to get some certain things done, like signs and that kind of thing.
I would say between Michelle and I, we've both put in probably 10 to 15 hours a week. And now that's increasing, and as we get closer, but still it's with the help of Jen. It's almost like following a template. Okay, we have to do this. Okay, and it's a lot of the thinking. What should we do? Is not as difficult as you would for a startup. It's really like starting up a business. And, and again, Chris and Sarah have been great, and we don't, how's this going to work? Oh, okay, that'll work.
Yeah. So, like with Dennis and Carlene, you know, their husband and wife, they live in the same in the same place, and it's easy probably for them to communicate.
Yes.
They probably are operating off of one computer, I would think.
We talk about
you know,
that
one
often.
set of master documents. With you and Michelle, it's a little different because you're in totally separate parts of the city.
It is different.
How do you manage things like that when you're co-managers?
Yeah, we talk about that often, and sometimes Michelle and I will have a miscommunication, and I'll just like, gosh, if we lived together, it'd be so much easier. But
and Michelle doesn't even live in Oshkosh, does she?
No, she's down in Van Dyne, down there, and she is super busy with her farm, and you know, sometimes I'll call her, what's going on? You know, what do you got on your plate? Well, you know, that elk is, you know, birthing a baby today, and it's like, whoa, you know, okay, I gotta go. See, you know, I don't have that challenge. She's a super hard worker, so it's, and I work, my day job is at EAA, so that time can get busy, and we try to meet, and mostly phone, texting. We're meeting on Monday. We'll set a time where we'll carve out a chunk out, a couple hours, and do it. But really, phone and email has been fabulous. And
but your vendors are committed for.
Yes, she's in fact tomorrow we'll be writing up the letters. So we know who they are yet. They don't at this point, but they will. Probably by the time this airs, they'll know who they are.
Yeah.
So you do you each say, okay, well, I'd like to handle items 1, 2, 5, and 9, and you can take 3, 7, and 12, or whatever?
You know, interestingly, Michelle, I mean, we knew each other even before the market, but not super well. So it's been a, what are your strengths, or we're learning each other's strengths, and so in the beginning it was a little bumpy, but now we're better at it. So. Again, she's the idea person, and I'll get it and try and put it on in to-do lists and such, and try and keep us on task. But there are days, but so far so good. You know, maybe talk to us in April. We'll see.
We'll talk to you before.
Yeah, I was thinking about not that it's a little change, but we're calling this the winter market, but really it's a 3-season market. We're starting in fall, we'll go through winter, and then end in spring. So those are the things we've been thinking about more. Okay, what's in season, and how's that all going to work? And some of the vendors are like, yeah, we'll be there. And, a lot of them have greenhouses for the agricultural. Hydroponic is becoming more popular, where a lot of the vegetables are grown in a water environment. And a few have said, we've been thinking of it, now that you're having this, we're gonna really work harder at making that a go. So that's been kind of neat.
I think you have some great themes to build around. Yes. With Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yes, when you think about it.
And this is a high time for people to buy
and then
like
Easter.
Crafts and stuff. You could have Santa Claus there.
We're having Mrs. Claus. We'll have her with cookies. We haven't asked Shonda yet from Caramel Crisp, but hopefully she'll be participating.
People get in that festive time and let's go to the Saturday market.
And the challenge will be January and February, where people are starting to go stir crazy. Not challenge, it'll be a perfect place for them to go. And they might not have a whole lot broke after Christmas, but still can buy a small trinket, or just to get out and be with people. I think that's what this market brings to the community. And that's why I stay with it. It's the best. I'm kind of busy during the week, but on the weekend I see everybody at the market, so I catch up.
Yeah. Dennis and Carlene have a Facebook presence.
Yes.
Will you be on Facebook,
or
do you have a website?
Carlene and I share posts. We've started putting our initials now, just so hopefully people will know who's posting. But yes,
so people can just go to the same Facebook page.
This year we've decided come November we'll change the similar logo. With theirs is green, ours is blue. We'll just switch it over and start just farmers, and then come spring, we'll summer market coming again. Right now it says winter market coming. We'll just kind of flip-flop a little.
Okay.
And same with Facebook. It's kind of also been nice with the summer market being established, because we can use those resources on summer. Hey, winter's coming, doing applications this week and posting, and same for Twitter and such. So we hope to step up the social media much more.
Yeah, and so I don't remember offhand what their Facebook page address is, but if you just go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook, just go to Facebook and type in the search line Oshkosh Saturday Farmers Market.
Correct.
And it'll come up.
And that's our website as well, .com, okay. OshkoshSaturdayFarmersMarket.com.
Okay, excellent. I know you said there's not going to be food there, but there are, some traditional staples of the holiday season.
Yes.
And this time of year, caramel apples, for one thing. You mentioned
those
caramel crisp, that kind of jogged my memory. Popcorn balls is another big one.
That's something people can maybe, not a meal that they can take and walk away with, or maybe to walk around, but I'm glad you brought that up.
So those things will be there?
Yes, absolutely. And as I said, cupcakes, there'll be a cupcake vendor, and cookies, treats in general.
Okay. No pie vendors, though.
I would love pie on the porch.
That would really be good for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I know. Maybe we can try and sneak them in. It's more of them. The pie on the porch is a tremendous fundraiser for them, but also a lot of work. So we've been putting that bug in their ear, maybe for right before
these Thanksgiving pies and Christmas pies,
pumpkin pie. I know. Yeah. I know. We are on November 17th. That reminds me. There's an event going on in the same location, Handmade for the Holidays. This is their 3rd year. It's a popular craft fair that is in that space. And when we first started planning, Chris said, the 17th is already booked for Handmade. And so we went to Michelle, who runs that event. She's the owner of Dainty Daisies. Used to be in Oshkosh, now in Appleton, and asked, could we share some space? And she said, as long as, she had no problem with it. As long
we'll
as
complement each other.
Just do the agriculture, and that's what we're doing. So that I think will be November 3rd is opening day. Mayor Tower will be doing the ribbon cutting. We'll have some fanfare, and then the 2nd will be the Handmade for the Holidays. So a pretty good 2 months. 2 months start. Yeah,
Sure.
2 weeks.
Will there be cider there that people
I hope
can
so.
get? All right.
I haven't committed, but there'll be syrup. But you're giving me some good ideas too.
Write them down. You want to write them down?
Hot cider. I love it. That was a concern because a lot of people do go for egg rolls or the different vendors. But I think we'll find a happy medium.
Cheryl has a special recipe for hot cider.
Oh, I do?
Do you
Yes.
do?
Oh.
Yeah. It's really more
This is
than
news to me.
Really more than hot cider.
Cinnamon. Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was gonna say
yeah.
cinnamon stick or not, but maybe
It's,
more.
see, it's news to me. This is why we love this show, because we're always finding
You
out
learn
new
more.
things. I'm finding out something about myself here. What do you hope the level of attendance will be? I mean, do you have some kind of goal in mind that you'd like to
Yes,
have?
I think if we could get throughout the 9 to 1 each market, if we can get 1,000 people through, that would be fabulous. Depending on the weather, the day. We did Dennis, Carlene, and I participated in the Sustainability Expo last winter, and I think it was in February. Middle of winter, and people were coming from all over. We were talking to a gal from Stevens Point, and I thought, really? You drove all the way here from Stevens Point for this expo? And with cabin fever, we just need to get out and need a place to go. And I think, again, that'll be the place. So I could see it. If we get between 715 and 1,000, I think for a first-year market, that'll be terrific. And
I
again,
think that's a reasonable goal.
yes, that
Yes.
first, third, and fifth will be a little tricky at first, but once it gets going, I think we'll do okay.
Okay. We're winding down to like our last couple of minutes here. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like people to know?
Good question.
I think just I want to make sure that folks don't think the summer market is it's just a different market. It's a different feel. You'll get that feeling of the good place to be and the social aspect. There won't be crowds and crowds of people, and more people I know will have a reason to go there. That, hey, I need some. We were talking about canned cranberries and things to serve, and those unique gifts, unique items they can't get year round. But I think if the expectation is that there'll be 3,000 people, no, this is be more intimate, which I kind of like because you get to know the vendors more, and
it'll be inside and warm.
Inside, I won't be standing there allowing the cars to go through and freezing.
We're going to put this sign up one more time, and folks can take down the dates and the days and the time and exactly where it is. And again, as it says, it is inside City Center, right off Jackson Street. Go in the Beckett, the driveway where you'd go if you were going to Beckett's, and just go right in that door as if you were going to Beckett's, and someone, she said, will greet you, and you'll be hanging a left and going down the hallway
I think
to
it'll be a little surprise. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, it sounds really exciting.
Thank you.
And again, it, as we just said on the or showed on the sign, it's from 9 to 1, starting in November, going through April, the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Saturdays of the month. So, and they're on Facebook. Go to Facebook
like
and
us.
like them, even if you haven't been there yet. Like them anyway, and also Oshkosh-SaturdayFarmersMarket.com. So, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Best of luck to you.
Enjoyable. Thank you. And I hope we'll see you at the market.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good. Thanks so much. Just sit tight. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back.
Every year, the U.S. Department of the Treasury receives about 1.4 million reports of problems with paper checks. Checks can be lost, stolen, or delayed. If you still receive Social Security payments by paper check, Treasury wants you to know about a safer, more convenient way to get your money. the Direct Express Prepaid Debit MasterCard. The Direct Express card is new and is available to anyone receiving Social Security benefits, even if you don't have a bank account. Your monthly benefits will be automatically placed onto your card account each month on the day your money is due. While other debit cards cost money, it is possible to use the Direct Express card for free to make purchases, pay bills, and get cash at thousands of locations nationwide. There are no sign-up or monthly account fees. No more waiting for the mail or worrying about lost or stolen checks. Call 1-877-212-9991 or visit www.usdirectexpress.com.
And welcome back to Eye on Oshkosh. We're pleased to be joined now by a lovely couple from the city of Oshkosh here, Peter Westort and his wife Mary Ann Offer. Peter is a business professor at UW Oshkosh, and they recently returned from quite a while in Cairo, Egypt. They were there on a Fulbright, is it scholarship or professorship?
It's a Fulbright grant.
Oh. Okay, there we go. All right.
Another word.
So we're going to find out about their experiences over there. Certainly there's lots of different things to cover, and so we're going to find out all about that. But let's find out first of all, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
we
welcome.
appreciate
Thank you
that
for
very,
having
very
us.
much. Let's find out about this Fulbright grant, and I better write that down or I'm going to refer to it as something else again. How does one go about getting a Fulbright grant? And when you apply, do you know where your destination is, or is that a surprise?
No, you know where your destination is when you apply, and in fact, that's from a candidate's perspective. That's a bit of a limitation. Mm-hmm. There's an online grant catalog that becomes available every February 1st, and it lists all of the available grants. And the problem is you can only apply for one grant. So if you don't get it, you have to wait till the next year to apply for another. You can't hedge your bet by applying for several. And the grants are fairly, they vary somewhat, but they're fairly specific. They are for educational institutions in foreign countries. So you look through the grant catalog, the catalog is organized by region, by country, and by discipline. So I would go to the online catalog and say, well, I'm a professor of accounting. I'm looking for a grant for someone to teach accounting, and I would look in the countries I was interested in. And they'd list grants, and they would be either one university or 2 or 3 universities for which there were grants available. So I applied for a grant to teach accounting and U.S. taxation at Alexandria University in Alexandria, Egypt. So that's the specific grant I applied for. Do you want to know the process? Or you asked, yes. How does one go about?
And before you do that, though, I just have to ask the crew in the studio if they can correct the graphic. I was having a brain freeze. I meant to type in Egypt, and I typed in Ethiopia, and I don't know why I did that.
Well,
you clearly were not in Ethiopia,
no,
so if they can just change that before they put this up on the screen, that would be helpful. And I apologize for that. So go ahead.
The process.
Yeah.
Well, the catalog is available online, and it's an online process. So the catalog is open February 1st. You have until August 1st to submit your online application, and it's a fairly comprehensive application. There are several essays asking questions they want you to address. First of all, what is it that you want to teach or research? There are teaching grants, research grants, and a combination teaching/research. And so you just describe what specifically do you want to do, and what your credentials are, and your what you think your benefit will be, what the host institution's benefit will be, what your home institution's benefit will be, what experience you have in teaching international students, and you need 3 letters of recommendation for the grant, and so you put that all together and submit it online, and then you wait. And there's and in the case of Egypt last year, a long time. Between when I applied for my grant and when I got notified that I got the grant, Egypt had a revolution. So there was some question about whether or not there were even going to be Fulbright grants.
Maybe some question whether you wanted to go.
The grant review process is 3 phases. The first one is peer review. Fulbright has several grant types. There's the Fulbright Scholar Program that I was part of. There's a Fulbright Student Program, and there's a Fulbright program that brings international students and scholars here to the U.S. Okay. So I was part of the U.S. Scholar Program, and the requirements for that are to be terminally qualified in your field. So for most fields in academia, that's a PhD, but there are other terminal qualifications for the performing arts or for professional areas. And you have to be a U.S. citizen to get the Fulbright Scholar Grant. And so there's the peer review basically evaluates your credentials and your project, what you propose to do, and decide whether or not that's something they think they want to fund. And sometime in fall, around October, you'd get a letter from the peer review committee saying congratulations or not.
You got
in my case, congratulations, but don't make plans yet because there's 2 more steps.
Okay.
The next step is the Binational Fulbright Commission in country. Of the 120 or 130 countries that Fulbright sends scholars to, about 50 have binational commissions in country. And that's a commission in the host country that supports the Fulbright program in that country. And they have their own goals. For example, the Binational Fulbright Commission in Egypt is interested in hosting more public schools than private schools. For example, the American University in Cairo is a private school, and it's well known, and it's easier for them to attract foreign scholars than some of the public schools. So they want to support public schools, public institutions, universities, and of course they'd like to spread it out. They'd like grants at a number of different public, so they have their own agenda, if you will, and they decide if your project will fit their needs, and if it does, then it goes to the Fulbright Commission in the United States. And of course, they have their own agenda, which is somewhat political. That is, they want to provide Fulbright grants to scholars from all 50 states, and within each state from a variety of institutions. So they look at, and of course, they have a budget constraint. And so they look at all that, and then they decide who they're going to give a grant to. And then while your grant was due on August 1st, you typically don't find out till sometime in the spring whether or not you're actually going to get the grant. And in my case, I got a letter, an email in the spring asking me how long could I wait before I knew, because they were undecided about whether or not even have a grant. But I found out in late May that in fact I got the grant, and I would be going to Egypt, or Marianne and I would both be going to Egypt in September. Actually, we left in late August.
I think an interesting thing to know about the Fulbright grants is that this is State Department money. So it's diplomacy money. And while people who participate as scholars, whether they're Americans going abroad or foreign students coming here, or students and other scholars coming here, American students going abroad, and they're furthering their own educational goals, the real purpose is to promote understanding between the peoples of the U.S. and other countries of the world. So it's a really neat thing to be part of. You feel like, oh, we're diplomats in a way. It's grassroots diplomacy. Yeah. And very nice to be part of.
Well, you know, I mean, it's difficult enough to, especially with all the airline, you know, the TSA requirements and everything, it's difficult enough to know how to pack when you're staying, you know, stateside. When you're going abroad, it becomes another whole different thing. And when you are actually leaving your home and going to be living somewhere for several months, as you folks did.
9 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do you begin to even know what to pack. Yeah, I assume you just pack the very basic essentials. Whatever else you need, you can buy there.
Pretty much. You know, it was a little bit easier going to Egypt in that I wasn't going to experience winter.
Yeah.
So it got a little bit cool in January, but cool means below 50s.
Yeah, yeah. You can handle it.
I can handle it. And I can pack for that. I can throw a sweater.
Yeah.
And so the packing clothing was not a problem because you know it's going to be a relatively moderate climate, and so you pack for that. And I know I'm going to be teaching, so I pack for that. I think probably the difficult questions were what do we bring along for toiletries? Am I going to be able to find my shaving cream, my aftershave lotion, or toothpaste? You know, not that you can't find that there. Can you find the brand you want there? But you know, Fulbright is teaching overseas as part of the Fulbright program is a good experience, and they support you very well. I was notified of the grant in May. In mid-June, there was a pre-departure orientation in Washington, D.C. So everyone who was going to North Africa and the Middle East went to D.C. for a 2-day orientation where they cover, not just the State Department things of you're going to a foreign country, you're a U.S. citizen, those issues, the safety issues, but the support issues in terms of how to look for a house or an apartment, and what's available, what won't be available. So the support that Fulbright provided. And once you get there, of course, there's the in-country binational Fulbright Commission that further provides support. So that makes it easier. Mm-hmm. But so actually packing wasn't that difficult, I didn't think. Did you?
Yes. I did. And the reason why, for me, it was more challenging is that Egypt is 90% Muslim. Mm-hmm. And women in Egypt dress more conservatively than they do in the U.S. So I spent a lot of time looking at pictures online, reading, trying to figure out what was appropriate, what wasn't. I wasn't going to be wearing a head covering, and Christian women in Egypt don't, women who are not Muslim don't, but what was going to fit in? And so I found that a number of my things, I thought maybe the neckline was a little too low. I actually would probably have felt self-conscious even with this kind of a cutout neckline, because the Egyptian women tend to wear a scarf, wear an over jacket no matter how warm the weather, and they wear, a lot of them wear pants, but they're long pants. You don't see ankles. So trying to figure out what from my closet was going to be appropriate there in the heat that we knew we were going to hit as soon as we got there was really challenging.
So it was more difficult for Marianne than for me.
Yeah, I sensed that. An essay question for both of you. You've been home for a while. Could you reflect on your experiences and touch on 2 or 3 really the most meaningful ones you had as a Fulbright professor and as a spouse of a Fulbright scholar?
Wow, most meaningful. It was interesting living in the community. We didn't live in an expat community.
Okay, good.
We had an apartment in a building where the other occupants of the building, well, I say they were Egyptian. I don't really know they were Egyptian, but they were all Arabic speaking. They weren't Western. So we were the only English speaking people in the building. And we shopped at the local markets for vegetables and bread. And so it was interesting to get to know what it's like to live in that culture. And I guess I have to say I was very, very pleased to see how friendly everyone was to us. I don't know how many times we heard "Welcome to Egypt." I clearly don't look Egyptian, and so
So it was a good feeling.
It was a very good feeling. I was obviously a foreigner, and I very much felt welcomed everywhere I went, and that was a nice feeling to have. That they did welcome us.
How about you, Marianne?
We had an unusual inn. 4 years ago, right now, we welcomed an AFS exchange student. We've been involved with AFS for a long time, And Abdul Rahman Ayad came here as a 16-year-old to go to Oshkosh North.
From Egypt?
From Egypt,
Okay.
from Alexandria, actually.
Wow.
And he was, from day one, our kid.
Yeah.
And
Lucky you people.
Oh, we were.
It was.
Yeah.
It was fantastic to host him. So he'd spent a year with us. We'd stayed close. We had heard from him about Alexandria and his family. He actually had not been planning to go on to university in Alexandria, but with the revolution, he and his mom decided it would be better if he stayed closer to home. So he and his family actually welcomed us into their home for 10 days when we first got there.
Oh.
We fasted through some of Ramadan with them. We celebrated holidays with them.
Ramadan was in August this year? Yeah.
So we arrived during Ramadan. So they were fasting, which was great actually because we were jet lagged. And the way it works, you fast during the day and you eat at night. Well, so we were still sleeping during the day because we were tired.
Sleep till noon.
Getting up at night, which is pretty much the schedule they were following too, and we eased into the change.
Our first 10 days in Egypt, we stayed with Abdul Rahman and his family. And so that was a nice...
Kind of a transition?
Yes, transition, really was. Before we had moved to our apartment.
Yeah, was the fact that he stayed with you here in Oshkosh for a year maybe one of the things that drew you to this particular
Yes, absolutely was.
destination?
Our children are grown and moved out. We're empty nesters, and I thought if I want to have this international living experience, now would be the time. And I wanted to go someplace a little bit different, a little bit interesting, and looking at the grants, the grant catalog, I don't speak a foreign language, so I'm constrained to teaching in English. And Alexandria.
You're also teaching accounting, which is
well, accounting is not so bad.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Alexandria University has an English language program.
Okay.
So it was a program that appealed to me, and Egypt appealed to me, and the fact that it was in Alexandria where Abdul Rahman lived made it even more desirable. Sure. And actually a third consideration was our daughter, who was interested in working in international development in Africa. And she quite possibly would have ended up in Africa, and I thought, well, at least we'll be a little bit closer to her. And as it turned out, she about halfway through her time in Egypt, she ended up getting a job for the World Bank in Senegal. So she was a little bit. Yes, the short answer to your question.
Yes.
Yes. The fact that Abdul Rahman lived in Alexandria was definitely a consideration.
This was a well-selected and chosen.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, and we had seen some pictures. We knew it was because of him. We knew it was on the Mediterranean. We knew that it had interesting old architecture, that it had the Greco-Roman history. I mean, he'd really gotten us intrigued in his city. We're very, very proud of it. So that was a real bonus. I think Peter looked at several different options, but boy, that just fit together so well.
Alexandria just fit, yeah.
What did you know about Islam before you went, and how did that change or didn't change after being there?
We are very much involved in AFS, American Field Service, the high school student exchange program, which Abdul Rahman was part of. And so he was Muslim, he lived with us for a year, but he was not the first Muslim student we hosted. We had hosted a young lady from Indonesia who was Muslim. We had hosted a young lady from Ghana who was Muslim. So he was a third Muslim exchange student. So through hosting exchange students, we felt a certain degree of understanding of the religion. But of course, living in a country that's 90% Muslim, where you hear the call to prayer 5 times a day from your apartment, makes it different. But I guess it made it a lot more real, a lot less unusual. It was just part of everyday life. It felt, I mean, Islam is just a part of everyday life.
You know, you said that you felt very welcomed as people were approaching you and so forth. Prior to that experience, did you have any fears, concerns, especially with some of the political turmoil over there and so forth, and just the day-to-day problems that Americans encounter in going to lands like this?
We encountered, I don't think we personally encountered any anti-Western sentiment. I'm sure it's there, but we got around a lot. We would regularly in the evening, when I was finished at the university, get on the tram. The major Alexandria runs along the coast of the Mediterranean, so the tram runs along the length of the city. And we would take the tram of an evening and get off at a stop and just walk for hours just to explore the city. And I never felt we were in danger at any point. You do have to exercise some common sense. We were in Cairo, a number of times we were in Cairo, and we would go to Tahrir Square for a number of reasons, but we would never go near Tahrir if there was some event going on, because then I think you place yourself at risk. So, I mean, we intentionally stayed away from Tahrir.
Well, and there's the other side to that, too. We were really fortunate to have a welcoming meeting at the U.S. Embassy. And one of the things that they explained to us was that those who would challenge the goals of the revolution, who would say it's fomented from outside, this isn't really the Egyptian people, would point to Westerners who were not marked clearly as journalists, who were showing up at the demonstrations and say, see, they're there. It's really the Americans or the French or the Germans or whoever who are trying to make this happen. And so if you are in support of what the people are doing with the revolution, don't go, because you're undermining the effect that they're trying to have in making their statements to their government.
And just to remind people that it was an unarmed revolution. I mean, we see what happened in Libya and what's happening now in Syria, but in Egypt it was just massive protest. There was violence, but it was mostly the police or the army attacking the protesters. The protesters themselves, and I mean, there were, I guess, some rock throwing, so it wasn't 100% peaceful, sure. But it was not an armed revolution. It was just massive protests, to the extent where the military finally said Mubarak has to go, and so that's how the revolution happened. But it was unarmed, so in that sense, it wasn't dangerous. As long as you stay away from the protest,
sure. Which we would do here.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Is Egypt better off today after the revolution?
Apparently.
I don't know anyone who, I haven't spoken to one Egyptian. Well, that's not entirely true. Most of the Egyptians I've spoken to would not want to go back to the Mubarak days. Okay. Every once in a while, you'd talk to a taxi driver who would say, we really need a strong leader. And Mubarak was a strong leader. He took care of us. But mostly, one thing that united them, whether you're extreme left or extreme right, was the hatred of the corruption in the Mubarak regime. And so I don't think, most Egyptians feel that the freedom that they're looking forward to is much better than what they had under Mubarak.
We do a lot of reading of Egyptian news sources. We have a lot of Egyptian Facebook friends now. So you follow what people are talking about, what kinds of things are being covered. I didn't see what the credentials were behind a survey that I read just recently that said that this new president has 80% approval by the people. But it's very interesting to see what kinds of things he was being judged on. So it was security, cost of fuel, cost of bread, trash pickup, and I can't remember what the other one was. That come to your mind?
No.
But bread is the food for a lot of people in that country around the clock. There's not too much more that they get to have in their diet. And there is subsidized bread that has additional nutrients added to it. It's very cheap. It's very good. We miss it. But it's all that a lot of people can afford. There was a problem with trash in the city and in the cities in that there was a contract that got caught in the middle of the government changeover. And when there wasn't a government in place, there was a trash contract in place. And so that, of course, just snowballed over all those months in between. Apparently, he's making some headway there. And for people, I mean, that sanitation, that's really, really important. But because there's so much poverty in the country, people have to care about those very basic things. And when those get taken care of, then they'll deal with higher level issues. But I think they tend to feel at least that they can speak out more, they can protest more. Remember there was an article that said that the view around the president's, I don't know, mansion or whatever, where the offices are, was changed, and that it used to be that you did not see the public there. No one wanted to go near. The security people were considered dangerous. The situation was just, you didn't want to be there. Now there are lines of people with their petitions, their requests. They have a feeling that they can speak up, and there's a chance that their needs will be met.
Even those who are unhappy with the election result, their feeling is that this is the first election, and hopefully a long string of democratic elections. And while they're not happy with it's the same within this country. You may not be happy with the election result, but there's 4 more years, and I think that's their view. This is the start of a very long process, and if it's not what we really wanted, well, the immediate result is not what we really wanted. The process is, and that's in place, and they're happy with that, and they don't want to go back to Mubarak.
We're almost out of time, but in our last few minutes here, I think we've probably got about 2.5, 3 minutes left. What was the most challenging thing for you folks to kind of get used to? You know, you talk about people, you know, not always being able to get bread, you know, and things like that. Little things that we just take for granted here. But, you know, was there something in particular that was more difficult to adjust to than something else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You say
He's ready to go.
I can tell. Peter's thinking, but you know right off the bat.
Appropriate behavior for a woman is different. A woman walking down the street is not supposed to meet the gaze of a man. You sit down in a tram, you're not supposed to have eye contact. I'm a Midwesterner. I say hello to everybody. I have to calm myself down in New York City because they don't say hi to everybody. But so to be in a situation where my eyes were supposed to be downcast if a man was approaching, if a phalanx of young men were walking toward me, I was supposed to step around, and rather than expecting that they would step aside like young guys would here for an older woman, that was challenging. And I even found that my stride, well, Egyptian women don't stride. And I'd get out there and I'd be booking it if it was a nice day and it wasn't swelteringly hot. And then I'd think, I've just passed all, you know, these women because nobody was going at the pace that I was. And I'd be, oh, I'm really sticking out.
You're following Peter too or not?
Oh, that would be when I was out on my own. But when we were together, we would probably both be keeping up that pace. But it wasn't as conspicuous as when I was alone.
Yeah. Just real quickly then, because we're down to less than a minute, but anything in particular for you,
No, I mean,
Peter?
for me, probably the most frustrating thing was timing. There's the sense of it's okay to be late for meetings or miss meetings, and that's in this part of the culture. You know, the expression "Inshallah" means God willing, and it's not necessarily an Islamic expression because the Coptic Christians would say the same thing, Inshallah, and I would say, okay, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And they say, yes, 10 o'clock tomorrow, Inshallah. which
you never know if they're going to be there or not. Wow. Okay. Well, God willing, and we've got to go. But I wish we had more time to talk more about your experiences. But thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And congratulations on your Fulbright.
Thank you,
Marianne, for joining.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.